Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today, inshallah, we're gonna discuss a new lesson from Mega Goal 6 on Start with me. I'm teacher Sami. Let's begin. Our lesson today from expansion 1 to 3 from Mega Goal 6. At first, we want to introduce our introduction for our lesson today. Number one, the purpose of these tips is to give a comprehensive review from first unit to the third one. And number two, we will improve your memory about previous grammar and vocabulary and reading and writing. Number three, make sure to open the book on the required pages to follow the instructions carefully in order to facilitate understanding and answer. Now we will go to our objectives for our lesson today. Number one, we have a language review. As if in every lesson or in every unit, we should apply the language review. Number two, reading. As what we discussed in the previous lesson, we have phobias, nothing to fear. And about the language plus, idioms about fear. And the last steps, or the last point for our objectives today is a writing. So writing is say about psychological condition or disorder. Okay, let's begin by the first point. If you remember that reading passage, we're talking about it in previous lesson, they talk about the phobias and the information of it and the definition of it also. Also, we discussed the kind of it and the name from the scientists, which they put the name for it, and they give it to us some examples for the peoples they mentioned inside the reading passage. Now we will have the reading or answer after that reading passage. Look at these questions. Number one, what is a phobia? We mentioned it on yesterday. That is a kind of something make nervous for you. Or we can answer by this shape. A phobia is an intense or irrational fear of something that doesn't pose any true danger. That is the exact definition for phobia. Number two, what are some physical symptoms that a person with a phobia might experience? Which means that what do you feel inside your body if you have a phobia? Do you have a high heartbeat? Do you have a sweat? Do you have what? Look at the answer for this question. A sufferer might experience shaking, rapid heartbeat, and difficulty breathing, maybe sweating, maybe chest pains, maybe dizziness, or feeling overwhelming anxiety. Number three, name two phobias and describe them. As on the previous lesson, we mentioned a lot of names, maybe 4 or 5 kinds of phobias. They want from you to name 2 of this kind of phobias. We understood in yesterday, or sorry, in a previous lesson, that the claustrophobia is a fear of a small, confined spaces. This is the first kind they mentioned in the first paragraph of our reading passage. And number 2 is arachnophobia, is a fear of spiders. Okay, let me transfer for question 4. Why do people develop phobias? We mentioned on the previous lesson that some people that they take these phobias from their parents. So in exact time, there is nothing to fear from it, but it's a transfer from their parents to them. So people might learn phobias from their parents. If your parents fear from something, maybe it will transfer to you. And or might they develop them as a reaction to frightening experience. And the last question is explain some of the treatments available to people with phobias. What do you think that is? We can say that people with phobias can take medication. This is the first solution about that one. And or undergo counseling to help them overcome their fears. This is the second solution if you have a phobia. This is a summarize about the reading passage and the more important points and elements they mentioned inside the reading passage. Okay, as a normally after every reading passage we have a vocab or we have a synonyms. We want to rearrange it, or we want to see what is the right definition for it. Let me transfer for the second question. Okay, the second question for us that is language plus read the sentence, then match is the idioms with the pictures. They give it to you some idioms for the picture, and you should define or you should decide which one write with the picture down. Okay, number one, when the burglar broke into my house, I was scared to death. What do you think is the suitable one? Is that one or the second one with leaves, or that one get goosebumps, or scared stiff, or what do you want? What do you think is the right one? So let me check. So number one, scare the living daylights out of, is suitable with that one. Okay, but they mentioned scared to death. What do you think is it? We think that is suitable with number 5. So it means that something fear from death. Scared to death, it means fear from death. Okay, number 2. The book of scary stories is so spooky, it will make your hair stand on end. What do you think the suitable picture with it? From my opinion, I think the third one is the right one, which make your hair stand at the end. Okay, we transfer for the number C, or letter C, sorry. I was scared stiff while watching that horror film on TV. What do you think that scared stiff belongs to that picture? What do you think? I think is the number 4 is the suitable one with it. And let we transfer for letter D. You will scare the living daylights out of here if you sneak up behind her. So what do you think? I think that is the number 1 is it the suitable one for it. And the last one, before giving a presentation, I often get goosebumps, which means that you feel something happen on your skin, and the right one with it is number 6. The last one, I shake like a leaf, which means your body becomes as a leaf, the color of it, the shape of it, the leaf from a planet. So every time I pass the big abandoned house, which is suitable with number 2. Let me check the answers together. So number 3, make your hair stand on end. And number 4, scared stiff. Number 5 is scared to death. And the last one is get goosebumps. By the end of this question, we notice that we learn 6 kind of scared, or 6 idioms that we already learned it after reading passage. The first one is scare the living daylights, and the second one shake like a leaf, which means your body become a shake as a leaf. Number 3, make your hair stand on at the end, scare the stiff, and scared to death, and get goosebump. Okay, let me transfer for the next question. The third question about our lesson today is writing. Okay, a sentence fragment is a dependent clause. What they mean by fragment is a dependent clause. It means that is incorrectly, which means that we can't begin it by a dependent clause or a phrase. So treat as a complete sentence. Incorrect that we can say because he is so intelligent. That is a wrong one. We should fill with a meaningful complete sentence. So if we want to begin that sentence, we can say, I like, for example, I like listening to him because he is, etc. So I can begin our sentence, or I can begin my sentence with reason. So that's what we're calling it fragment. Look at that example down. They told us because he is so intelligent. This is not correct. Sentence fragments can often be fixed by either. How can I fix it that one? We have 2 ways. Number 1, by adding the fragment to an independent clause, or the second one, by removing it, the introductory word from the fragment. They give it to us 2 ways. Number 1, by fixing it. How can I fixing it? By independent clause. I add it to independent clause. Number 2, by removing it into introductory word from the fragment. And they give it an example down. Number 1, correct. I like listening to his lecture because he is so intelligent. So this is the correct one, which means that I join this fragment inside complete phrase or clause. I began by like listening to his lecture because. So this is the cause of, reason of, he is so intelligent. And number 2, correct. He is so intelligent. So by these two ways, I can say he is so intelligent without mentioning the reason, or I can put the reason with a complete full statement. I like his literature because, or lecture because, etc. After that, they given an examples or a question. We should fill it, or we should follow the question above it. Correct this state fragment. Number 1, after the news report was over. What do you think? How we can apply that one with this fragment? So after the news report was over. Number 2, if I go shopping. Do you think that's a complete sentence? It doesn't give a meaningful sentence. So how can I complete that one? Number 3, unless the weather is nice. So what happened if the weather not unless, sorry. Because we eat too much fast food. As what we mentioned before, what happened if we eat too much food? So what happened after that, or what happened before it? Let we check together. Number 1, after the news report was over. We can correct it by that way. The news report was over. This is the right way when we want to correct our statements. Number 2, if I go shopping. So what happened? We can say, if I go shopping, comma, I will call you. So we notice that the big difference between these two sentences and the second one is giving a full meaningful for us, or we can understand the meaningful of it. Number 3, unless the weather is nice. So what happened? We can say, unless the weather is nice, comma, we will have to cancel. This is the right way when I want to write a correct sentence. Number 4, because we eat too much fast food. So the right way when I want to write it, we eat too much fast food. So we should omit because, and we will write complete full sentence. So we eat too much fast food. Okay, by the end of this question, I think that we have some techniques. We should follow it when we want to write our sentence or statements. From this question and the previous one and the question from reading passage, we should apply the grammar. So in this unit, we already learned how we using past models, how we make a sentence with the passive models in the past, and what is the situation that we will write our sentence on it. Also how we can using a noun clause, and it have some situations and some expressions we should follow it. And this the last one, how we make a sentence fragment. So how we correct it if we have inside our question. Okay, this is the last step for our lesson, as what I mentioned in our objectives. Okay, writing write an informational essay about psychological condition or disordered. Include grammar points from unit 1, 2, and 3. As what I mentioned now, you should follow that step about grammar, and you should write your essay according to this grammar they mentioned to you in your book. Okay, they give it to you some steps. We should follow it when we want to write our essay. Look at the steps. Number 1, decide what condition you want to write about. So now our object is talking about phobia. So you should decide which phobia or which kind you want to talk about it, or what do you want to write about it. After when you decide what do you want to do, some possible subject, and they give it to you including what? This is a kind of possible subject you can choose from it. Stuttering, insomnia, and dyslexia, and anxiety, attention deficient disorder, and eating disorders. This is some kinds of this phobias. Number 2, when you decide to write your essay, what is the next step? Number 2, research the disorder to answer the following question. Before we want to research that, what they mean by disorder? Disorder, which means that something causes a fear or something causes a nervous to you. Okay, when you research about that one, what do you think is suitable way to write a good essay? So they give it to you or make it easy to you by they adding some question. Number 1, you ask yourself, you should ask yourself, what is this disorder? Or what is the meaning of it? Or what is the cause of it? How can I deal with it? And question 2, what causes it? What is the causes of it? And I should think and I should analyze my writer essay to the smaller one, from bigger idea to the smaller one. Number 3, what are the symptoms? What do you think that symptoms for my fear or my disorder from this one? And the 4th question, what are some example cases? So if you want to make your essay very good and strong, you should apply or you should insert some examples on it. If you found the research and something about that your subject, and you should mention some examples from your or from the research you found it. And the last question is, how is disorder treated? So when you fill and you research about it and you decide what do you want to write about it, you mention some examples at the end, and as a conclusion you should write the treatment about that things or situation you already mentioned in your essay. Number 3, use a chart to recover information and organize your ideas. Look at the board. We have a small chart. Maybe it helps you, or it's a good to, when you follow it, it helps you to write a good essay. So the title of it is disorder, which means you choose the subject, the name of this disorder, and you put behind it. They give it 4 or 5 elements down of it. Number 1, the definition of it. How we can introduce that disorder for the people who must read my essay. I should give complete sentence about its definition. Number 2, the causes of it. Maybe you found a lot of causes of it. So try to choose the good one which belongs to your subject. And symptoms. What do you think the symptoms or suitable symptoms that belongs to your subject? And you can fill it by a headline words that help you to write your essay inside this chart. And number 4, example cases. Example cases that you should mention this example, you should add examples to your subject and you should mention it, or if you would like to write it inside this chart. And the last one is treatment. How do you deal with this disorder? How do you think from your opinion we can solve this disorder in your essay? If you notice that this disorder or this chart about this subject disorder is completely the answer for the 4th question up or the 5th question up. Do you see that question they mentioned there? What is this disorder? What causes is it? And what are the symptoms? It's the same, but the answer for it down, and they analyze this inside this small chart. I hope you to prepare your writing essay by this way. It make your essay clear and it helps you to analyze your ideas. Also, it can make your essay very strong when you want to write an essay, which means that you began from bigger ideas, and after that you analyze this by small and small until the end you come for the additional things, which means that you found the solution from opinion which you suggested to our audience. And the last things I want to notice you about something. So developing your writing, avoiding plagiarism. So plagiarism is something that we can ask about it. What is the plagiarism is. We can call this copying someone else's ideas. So when you write your essay, pay attention that you can't take a researcher or a scientist, they write some quotations or book or any research and take it as your own idea. This is what we're calling it plagiarism. So this is not available to make it in your essay. The second question is, how do you avoid it? If I want to avoid these things, how can I do? So I can avoid plagiarism by crediting the persons or source where you obtained the information. So if I want to write about, I found a good example or I found a good word that I found it from research, I can put between quotation, which means that this is not mine, this is the writer's words, which means that I avoid that plagiarism and I analyze this and put it between quotation, which means that I deceive it for the writer who already write it. After that, they give it a quote exact word, what I mentioned already, that place exact words from another sources in a quotation mark. The last point is paragraphs or paraphrase, sorry. Paraphrase, which means that you should summarize your ideas and put these ideas from author sources into your own words. So when you take this meaningful sentences or phrase, you should write by your own ideas, by analyzing it, which we calling it paraphrase it by your ideas. Whether you use exact quotes or paraphrases, be sure to give credit or the original sources after the quote or paraphrase. What is the last step? To include or then include a list of your sources at the end of your essay. When you finish your writing, write your essay or your essay, you should at the end write the sources which you found this quotation and this information, and you applying it or you writing about it from that sources down of your essay. And this is our last point of our lesson today. So as what I mentioned, I want to give a conclusion for our lesson. At first we answer some question after reading passage, then we apply idioms words and what is the meaning of it. After that we apply noun clauses and how we avoid to write the right way by noun clauses, and the last one, how we apply or writing format when we want to write our essay by following these steps. And by the end of this lesson, I would be thanks for everyone whom joined to our class, and thank you.